Yeah, so in 2025, we came just one aircraft landing away from breaking our all-time record. We had roughly 10% growth year over year, and it was across all three of our forms of cargo. One with UPS, Amazon, and their international cargo. Each one of them contributed to our growth. But probably the biggest contribution was related to UPS's postal service contract. That increased some operations pretty significantly on the domestic side. But on the international side, towards the end of last year, we were able to add DSV with a direct flight from Shanghai to Rockford. So be able to bring that in with our Maersk product as well. They've been operating out of Liege. That allowed us to end the year pretty strong. So it gave us that opportunity to really exceed our 2024 numbers. And we've kind of seen a return kind of back to that growth mode coming out of, obviously that decline of the COVID years, coming out of COVID, seeing a little bit of decline. We're starting to get in that growth mode again. So in airline partnerships was the partnership with DSV, bringing DSV to the airport with a new service, with the Shanghai service was wonderful to get them announced and get it operating. We're seeing more growth. In fact, we just released a press release today announcing the Luxembourg service being added by DSV as well. So we're seeing good opportunities of growth on that side. From an airport partnership standpoint, we signed the sister airport agreement with Liege. Liege and Rockford are two airports that are very similar in terms of our mindset and growth. We already have existing clients that we both are working to grow, but as well as new routes. And then finally, on infrastructure development, we opened up a new Group 6 taxiway that connects directly to our International Cargo Center. This is a $24 million project that allows us to increase the efficiency and keep the efficiency of the airport even as we continue to grow. So this is all allows us to maintain that 5 minutes from wheels down to engines off all the time for our cargo operators operating in and out from the International Cargo Centers.
Great.
So we're looking to continue to expand and grow our existing business with UPS, Amazon, Maersk, DSV, but we're looking to hopefully add new services as well. One of the things we're really trying to do is work on increasing our connectivity to South America and increasing transit cargo through Rockford, creating that global hub approach to the airport instead of point-to-point service, allowing us to be the area for the cargo operators to come transit their freight and move it throughout different lanes throughout the world. We're seeing some good opportunities there. I mean, Amazon has been a huge help to us with Amazon Air Cargo. They've worked to establish connectivity to South American solutions with our other partners to create some new opportunities. And they're also very aggressive in their growth mode. And we at Rockford, we've been with Amazon since the very beginning. Yeah. So seeing that opportunity allows us to work with them to help tie into our international connectivity. When they're selling the airport, we're selling Amazon, where we're talking to our partners, trying to help link everyone up and make sure they're all using RFD. Yeah, so it's a collaboration approach from joint route development research, working jointly to go to the airlines and create that connectivity. But then also it's knowledge sharing, being able to share best practices. I mean, Liege is a great freighter airport. Rockford is a great freighter airport. Obviously, we're located in two different parts of the world, operating in different conditions, but we are both focused heavily on the freighter, trying to make sure that we are offering the best services possible. They're a little bit more mature related to their international development related to pharmaceuticals and some high value cargo. So we're working with them to really understand that market better, because we've got what we're looking to create in Rockford is a e-commerce and a pharmaceutical center of excellence, where we're going to be investing in temperature control as well as e-commerce handling, and really working with them to see some of their best practices so we can bring it to Rockford and have the users benefit on both ends of the equation. Yeah, traditionally China to North America is the largest lane in air cargo. Obviously there's been some challenges over the last handful of years, but don't expect that to exist long term. We're always going to have trade between the U.S. and China. So really, look for us. It's a great growth market. You touched it on. E-commerce has been a big backbone of that recently, and it's still heavily in that market. But pharmaceuticals, automotive, high value freight, moving back and forth. We're trying to create a better solution for air freight to move not to just Chicago, but the entire central United States, and to move back and forth, from there to export back into China as well. Yeah, so Chinese carriers, particularly right now, we don't have any Chinese flag carriers. We do have Atlas, a U.S. carrier, flying direct to Shanghai. I expect that as we start to move, that product starts to continue to grow. You expect to see some benefit to that. I mean, but the whole point of being here, obviously, is to expand those opportunities. We've had wonderful conversation with multiple carriers, multiple Chinese carriers related to Rockford. Some of them have already been to visit RFD, and so it's just working on that relationship and developing a little bit further, and then just also presenting a different solution to the ones that are operating to some of the other airports in the region, showing that there's a better option. There's a more cost-effective, better, more efficient, more freighter-friendly option by operating out of RFD, and then to show them it's not just a theoretical approach. It's a long-standing. We got almost 40 years of history in air freight in these movements in and out of Rockford. So we want to be able to offer those opportunities to all carriers operating within Central United States. Yeah, there's been some great discussions, honestly. Yesterday was full of meetings and had some really, really great discussions, and then obviously it's spilled over today with some early morning meetings with additional carriers, as well as some carriers and their partners, related to the freight forwarders on the support side of it. Don't expect air service or route to be announced right after those meetings. You're just planting those seeds to hopefully see that growth beyond. Yeah, so if I could predict how e-commerce was going to evolve over the next few years, I think I could make a lot of money betting on the side. But I do know, obviously we went through a big shift in e-commerce in the U.S. last year related to Chinese e-commerce. We've kind of come out of that, but now there seems to be some rumblings of some additional changes. But now we're hearing our friends in Europe are getting ready to experience some of the similar things we saw last year as well. So expect it to be a little volatile, but the volume is still out there. It is still out there. It may have to be routed in different locations, and for us, that's part of the reason we're seeing a lot of interest into that transit freight down to South America, particularly. It's been something that it seems to be a connection that multiple carriers are looking at and trying to find a way to make it happen without particularly having to go through Miami. Is something that's out there, because Miami obviously is a great air cargo airport, but in the connectivity to South America is wonderful down there, but it runs into the same challenges as all large passenger hub airports, is congestion. So trying to figure out if you're going to add more into South America, you need to look at maybe some alternatives on how to get there. Yeah, so we've expanded our air cargo footprint related to the international warehousing pretty significantly over the last 5 years. But on the short term, we're looking at temperature control investments. Obviously we've been hoping that the handling companies or someone else would put those investments in. It's kind of a chicken and egg scenario where you need the customer to build to drive the investment, but then the investment needs the customer going back and forth. So for us, we're kind of looking at it as we know it's out there. We know that temperature controls are needed. If the airport invests, which we've got money set aside in our capital budget to do so, we know it's going to be utilized. So that's what the step we've taken this year is putting that money aside, and we're going to develop our own temperature control space for pharmaceuticals and perishables, and then being able to put it back out to the market. And obviously we've already had some conversation with some forwarders. Once it's up and operating, it is going to drive business on its own. Our goal is to work with our partners and stay ahead of them. So many airports run in a stance for more of a bureaucratic, try to put barriers up in front of business. We're trying to make sure that we're working with our carriers to see what they need 2 years from now, so we can have it ready ahead of time to maintain that ease of use. What we don't ever want to see is being caught behind the 8 ball and seeing our users start to experience some challenges with their operations. And we're very heavily involved with our operators on the field to make sure we're helping them overcome any hurdles in the marketplace, because even though our partnership or financial arrangement maybe with one entity, maybe the airline or the lease or with the handling company on their lease, but the reality is anyone utilizing the services of those companies as a customer of the airport, we want them to have a great experience at our airport. So we're wanting to make sure that we're always working to stay in front of those challenges and to make sure they don't ever affect business at RFD.